Alright, Shalom. First and foremost, I want to start off by giving all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushai, Ba'ashem, Hakodash, the ones and to the apostles and the elders of the great millstone taught us truth. And Shalom also to the IQ pushing this word in sincerity and in truth, and to the speckled bird across the four corners of the world, and to the few sisters who are listening to you. I say Shalom. Lord will, this will be an edifying lesson. Basically, what I wanted to get into was staying in the spirit, because this current fight that we are in is not a fight of the flesh. This isn't something that, we just put our hands up and we start, boxing, or actually squaring up, But what we're actually involved in is a spiritual battle, man. That's why we have to get involved more in this ministry and be occupied till the Lord comes back. We had to stay in the spirit. It says Ephesians 6:12, for we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. So the things that we go through, man, ultimately this walk that we're in is a spiritual battle. So the things that we go through, we're not wrestling against flesh and blood. This isn't a physical battle, right? But it's, even though we're, experiencing it through this physical body, all of it is filtered through the spirit, man. We're actually, wrestling against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of darkness of this world, man. Those are the actual things that we're actually fighting, right? And that's why we have to stay in the spirit, because staying in the spirit is ultimately going to help us to stay on point. Matter of fact, when you read this chapter, it goes into all of that. That's why it says, wherefore take unto you the whole armor of God, that ye may be able to withstand in the evil day, and having done all to stand. Right? Because when you stay in the spirit, you put on that whole armor of the Most High. You first of all, you're gonna be protected. It says, stand therefore, having your loins girt about with truth, and having on the breastplate of righteousness, and your feet shod with the preparation of the gospel of peace. Above all, taking the shield of faith, wherewith ye shall be able to quench all the fiery darts of the wicked. Right? And all this, it requires faith, because ultimately, staying in the spirit, it also comes, you have to have faith. But following the spirit, you're able to deal with these things that otherwise people in the world, they would give in, and go off. But us, being in this flesh, we know that, we had to keep fighting. It's a spiritual battle. The scriptures say this is Galatians 5. And I'm start off at 16. It says, this I say then, walk in the spirit, and ye shall not fulfill the lust of the flesh. For the flesh lusteth against the spirit, and the spirit against the flesh. And these are contrary one to the others, so that ye cannot do the things that ye would. So, if you follow the spirit, if you walk in the spirit, you're not going to fulfill the lust of the flesh. And what are the lusts of the flesh, man? To go off. The scriptures say that the heart is deceitful and desperately wicked above all things. So that's why we had to stay in the spirit, because this spiritual battle that we're involved in, you don't want your labor to be in vain or to be for nothing, right? You don't want the tempter, to basically, tempt you and beguile you, and then you don't have this truth anymore, man. It says, for the flesh lusted against the spirit, and the spirit against the flesh. So, this flesh, this flesh and this and the spirit, they're contrary one to another, man. But that's why we had to walk in the spirit, because if we start to walk in the flesh, that's a carnal mindset that's ultimately gonna lead to death. This is Romans 8:5. It says, For they that are after the flesh do mind the things of the flesh, but they that are after the spirit, the things of the spirit. For to be carnally minded is death, but to be spiritually minded is life and peace. So there you have it, man. When you have that carnal mindset, when you basically following after the flesh, it leads to death. When you're actually, matter of fact, it says right here, verse 7, because the carnal mind is an enmity against God, for it is not subject to the law of the Most High, neither indeed can it be. So when you have that carnal mind, you're basically an enemy to the Most High, because you're not subject unto the law of the Most High, right? Which is the doctrine of life. It says neither indeed can it be, which means what? It says all they that hate me love death. So basically, you can't even be subject unto the order we have by Shem Shai, man. So what? You had to receive death. It says verse 8. So then they that are in the flesh cannot please God. So when you're in the flesh, you can't even please the Most High, man. Hey, this whole truth that we're in, this whole walk that we're part of, hey, is all about pleasing Yahweh Shem Shai. Because it says present your bodies as a living sacrifice. That's our reasonable service. But if us presenting our bodies as a living sacrifice, we're not doing the correct things and walking in the spirit, obviously it's not going to please the Most High, right? That's why we have to walk after the spirit, because walking after the spirit, that's going to please Yahweh Shem Shai. Let me see what scriptures I got. Let me see. This is I'm gonna end it off on this scripture. This is John 6:63. It says, "It is the spirit that quickeneth," right? Because the spirit, it gives life. The flesh profiteth nothing. The words that I speak unto you, they are spirit and they are life. And ultimately, another way that we could follow the spirit is also by reading, man. When we get into these words and we put these words in us, matter of fact, Job said this. This is Job 22:22 says, "Receive, I pray thee, the law from his mouth, and lay up his words in thine heart." So if you lay up these words in your heart, man, ultimately, the spirit is gonna guide you. When you're placed into certain situations, the spirit is gonna be right there, because what? You have these words inside you now. These words are alive, right? So when a situation presents itself, the spirit quickeneth, it brings you to life. It's gonna give you the direction to go in, if you follow that spirit. But if you follow after the flesh, ultimately that's death, man. Right? So with that, Lord will, this is an edifying lesson. I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai Ba'ashem HaKadosh Wa Baba Shalom.